A Philadelphia television news helicopter crashed shortly after takeoff. Skycam 3 captured the scene right after the accident at the Sterling heliport on Penn's Landing. A PVI cameraman and the pilot were inside. Luckily, neither was seriously injured, although the cameraman, Bob KRAVITZ, was checked out at a hospital after the crash.
If it wasn't for Paul Larson, the pilot, I don't think I would be here talking to you, because that thing started spinning and then crashed. And he made sure it didn't crash on the back or the front, or I don't think I'd be here talking to you.
When we got there and I saw the damage, I realized that it was a pretty bad accident. I know Paul Larson personally, the pilot, and he's a good pilot, real smooth.
The FAA is investigating the cause of the helicopter crash. A monumental road repair
It says, let you practice. This is the single stupidest item. It says, let you practice your putting in the potty. And look at this. Look at the tasteful ad. Toilet not included. We got to send away for this. We got to get this. Okay. I mean, if you got that kind of time on your hands, you know, you're probably turning your upright vacuum into an animal. That's my favorite. That's going on the wall. That's going on the wall. Here's something.
Investigation. I have the resources. I know how to get results. Call me, Jim Rosenbaum, 1-800-7-LEGAL-7. I'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
Now you can afford a home of your own. You could buy a HUD home even if you don't make a lot of money. Just call 1-800-767-4HUD and give your kids their own living room.
The accuracy you depend on. Action Radar, only on Action News.
As a public service to our late-night viewers, Channel 6 now presents a rebroadcast of tonight's 11 o'clock news.
Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, with Gary Papa, Dave Roberts, and Jim Gardner.
Monday night, a propane gas explosion levels a restaurant, and congressional leaders announce a balanced budget agreement. But the big story in Action News tonight is the investigation into the crash of Chopper 6. The helicopter is sitting in its hangar tonight at Sterling Aviation at Penn's Landing in Philadelphia. Chopper 6 is awaiting a team from the National Transportation Safety Board and the FAA to begin its probe tomorrow. Investigators will try to figure out why the chopper got 5 feet in the air this morning and then crashed. It apparently leaked hydraulic fluid, causing the pilot to lose control. The cabin was only dented, but the rotor blades were smashed to smithereens. Action News photographer Bob KRAVITZ suffered a pinched nerve but was released from the hospital. KRAVITZ said pilot Paul Larson did a spectacular job in saving their lives.
I would be here talking to you, because that thing started spinning and then crashed. And he made sure it didn't crash on the back or the front, or I don't think I'd be here talking to you. He pulled it over to the side, on his side.
Chopper 6 is owned and operated by Sterling Helicopter of Philadelphia. An 8-year-old boy is in critical condition.
The following edition of News 10 aired live at 11 p.m. and is being rebroadcast as a service to our late-night viewers. You're watching Philadelphia's NBC10. Now, live from the News Center, this is News 10 at 11.
Threatening clouds hover over Philadelphia high-rises while lightning dances through Delaware. Get ready to wake up to a break from stifling heat. Looky there, 30th Street Station looks uncommonly serene tonight. Take a close look at the flags outside. They're already flapping in the breeze that's bringing us cooler temperatures. Can you see them? I'm looking. The exclusive Earthwatch is coming up in just a few minutes. Guess we'll show you later. A chopper crash at Penn's Landing caused some tense moments for a pilot and a TV news photographer. News 10 at the Penn's Landing heliport just after the accident this morning. A chopper owned by Sterling Helicopters dropped about 15 feet while it was taking off. It hit the ground and rolled on its side, the rotor blades breaking off. Pilot Paul Larson escaped unhurt. WPVI TV cameraman Bob KRAVITZ suffered a pinched nerve. He says he knew they were in trouble as soon as they took off.
We lifted off the dolly here from the helipad, and warning lights went on our panel, and then this, what we call a horn alert, started. And I looked over to Paul, and Paul looked over to me, and I saw him struggling with the stick.
Witnesses say the chopper may have suffered hydraulic failure. Tonight, the FAA is investigating the crash.
Tonight, a judge ordered...
Fox Philadelphia. From Fox Philadelphia, the region's only prime-time news hour, the Fox 10 o'clock news.
Good evening. A tax cut for most Americans is the promise from Washington tonight.
A balanced budget deal is finally hammered out. And that's first on Fox tonight. What's it all mean to us? Perhaps some more money in our pockets. At least that's what the politicians are saying tonight. One thing is for sure, this deal will affect every American. Carl Cameron has the story.
We have reached a tentative agreement with the administration on the Balanced Budget Act and the tax relief package.
Families are the biggest beneficiaries. Republicans have won a $500 per child credit for kids 16 and under in families that earn up to $110,000 a year. In exchange, low-income families who pay little or no income tax will also get the credit, a key White House demand. Investors will get a big break, too. The GOP has pushed through a cut in the top capital gains tax rate from 28 to 20% and from 15 to 10% for lower brackets. The White House nixed a GOP plan indexing profits for inflation. Golfing in Las Vegas, the president said he was very pleased and looked forward to seeing the details when he returns to Washington, where Republicans are already claiming victory.
It is, in fact, a bill that is reflective of the direction we set when we wrote the contract with America.
The nation's 10 million uninsured kids were a major sticking point. Some will receive health coverage under a proposal the president pushed with Republican Orrin Hatch and Democrat Ted Kennedy. Cigarette smokers will pay up to 24 cents more per pack in the next 5 years to fund it. And states will have some more leeway in running those programs. The package also contains the $35 billion or more in education tax breaks sought by the president and various estate tax reforms that were sought by Republicans. $115 million in Medicare reform got the green light, but without two bold proposals. Higher premiums for wealthy seniors and raising the age of eligibility have been shelved as too politically risky. The final legislative language will be penned overnight and into Tuesday. By Wednesday, the votes will begin, and then the dog and pony news conferences when the Congress and the president begin to crow about their accomplishment. The first major tax cut since 1981 and the first balanced budget since 1969. On Capitol Hill, Carl Cameron, Fox News.
It was an action-packed flight that ended badly. A pilot and photographer from WPVI are lucky to be alive tonight after their chopper slammed onto a helipad just after takeoff. The crew aboard Skyfox was the first news team on the scene. Steve Keeley has our story.
Holy smokes. Wait, that's 6? Is that chopper 6? There is somebody laying out on the pad here, and chopper 6 is on its side, crashed.
The view of the crashed helicopter from our chopper in the air. Its fiberglass rotor blades sheared off when it flipped over just seconds after takeoff, getting just 15 feet in the air before crashing back down to the helipad along the Delaware River.
We lifted off the dolly here from the helipad, and warning lights went on our panel, and then this, what we call a horn alert, started.
Channel 6 News cameraman Bob KRAVITZ, the one you saw earlier laid out on the ground, was back from the hospital just 3 hours after the crash, telling fellow cameramen and reporters what happened when he and pilot Paul Larson tried to take off just before 6:30 this morning.
I looked over to Paul, and Paul looked over to me, and I saw him struggling with the stick of the helicopter, and it started to fishtail. And if it wasn't for Paul Larson, the pilot, I don't think I would be here talking to you, because that thing started spinning and then crashed. And he made sure it didn't crash on the back or the front, or I don't think I'd be here talking to you.
Larson pulled KRAVITZ out an open door. There was no fire, not even a fuel spill.
We kept hearing the rotors hitting or spinning, and we were just praying that they wouldn't come through the cockpit.
Both men on board got out virtually unhurt. As he walked back to the crash site, still in a hospital gown with his wife at his side, cameraman KRAVITZ says at worst he suffered a pinched nerve. As investigators looked over the wreckage, they say the pilot told them his hydraulic system had failed.
We lucked out. We just lucked out.
When you're driving down the road in your car and you lose, maybe the engine stalls, all of a sudden you kind of go to move the steering wheel, you can't, everything's locked up. That's what it's like on a helicopter. Things become very stiff and you just kind of have to muscle them around.
And so, after a terrifying moment of making the news, cameraman KRAVITZ says he can't wait to get back to just covering the news, even from the air.
I've got to get up again. Yeah, I'll fly again.
At Penn's Landing, Steve Keeley, Fox News.
The helicopter is owned and operated by Sterling Helicopter of Philadelphia. Sterling officials are refusing to comment tonight. The single-engine Aerostar was manufactured in France. Investigators from the Federal Aviation Administration will begin looking for the cause tomorrow. Rich?
Some important safety tips tonight.
By lens crafters, helping people see better 1 hour at a time.
This is WeatherScope.
Good evening, Bill Keneally with you. A state of emergency has been declared in Fort Collins, Colorado after a night of heavy rains causing catastrophic flooding. At least 4 people are dead and more than 20 people are still unaccounted for in the wreckage of homes and trailers. For more on what's happening at this hour in the Fort Collins area, let's go to Jim Cantore in the Forecast Center. Jim?
And again, that wall of water, that seemingly incompressible wall of water, which worked its way through a trailer park last night, devastating over 90 mobile homes. As a matter of fact, we have some video out of this area. This is near the Spring Creek area in Fort Collins. And you can see, again, the water very, very high. And what happens here, folks, is this thing is just like, I mean, an entity that develops. It takes trees, it takes any kind of debris, and just pushes it downriver, and now you've got this wall of debris and water, which is almost unstoppable because of the force of the water. 1 cubic yard weighing about 1,500 pounds, just pushing everything in its path over or away. They did search over 90 mobile homes, and they have not found any bodies or any folks in there yet. So hopefully what has happened is those folks that got out of their mobile homes before the worst move in. But as Bill mentioned, still 20 people missing from the flooding last night in Fort Collins, Colorado. Well, we talk about the monsoon season a lot, and with that monsoon season comes the threat of this heavy rainfall in the west. On the scene with us out in Fort Collins, Matt Bertram, who's with the American Red Cross. And Matt, thanks for taking the time. We know you're real busy. Could you just describe the situation in Fort Collins for us? We know what has happened. What's it look like right now?
Well, thankfully it hasn't rained yet. It's been, you know, earlier today it looked like it was imminent, and right now it's kind of like yesterday, though. It was very dark and foreboding early in the day, kind of lighten up later, and it looks like it's probably going to be like yesterday. Well, it'll probably start raining in the evening again, but it hasn't.